Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Family Treehouse, a podcast series brought to you by Storied, where I chat with people that have a passion for genealogy, storytelling, or both. I am your host, Heather Haunert, and today I am very excited to chat with my guest, Mr. Kenneth Marks of the Ancestor Hunt. Welcome, Kenneth. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm super excited to have you on board. For those of you that don't know, hopefully everyone knows you are the man of the hour when it comes to being online with genealogy and family history. I'm super excited that I saw you just had a new book out on obituaries. Like I could go on all day about obituaries. So I'm super excited that you have that out. Kenneth, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in just family history and storytelling in general.
Okay, well, I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area. I left after college and I lived in LA, San Diego, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Seattle. And then I moved to the Phoenix area in 1997. I've been here ever since. I was in the software business starting in the 1960s and became a software executive for the last 20 years of that career. Then I retired from that in 2004. And don't ask me why, but I became a partner in custom home building business in 2004 in Arizona.
That's fun.
And I retired again in 2009 after the market crashed. And so I started genealogy, I think in 2003. I think I had no interest at all before that. I remember, I think I saw an ad for Ancestry or something. I thought a free thing or something. So I thought I'd try it. And I got into it. And when I started, I only knew the full names, first and last names of two of my great grandparents.
Wow.
And I mean, nobody ever talks about their relatives much or ancestors at all, which is unfortunate because all of us who have started in this game realized very quickly that it sure would have been great if we talked to our old relatives before they passed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I knew two. So it was really exciting. I remember the first big deal for me was very early on when I found my great grandmother on my Marks side in a census record. And I went crazy. And so, and everybody has those kinds of moments, and it's exciting and exhilarating. Anyway, so I got into genealogy, I found some old relatives that were still alive. My mom died in 2003, so I think I started after she died. My dad had passed in 1990, so I couldn't ask them anything. I had no parents. I had three living relatives that were older than me. One was my dad's brother, and two were my dad's cousins. And so I connected with them and got as much information as I could. And, that's what I did. And, one of the coolest things was, God, I got so many stories I could tell. One of the coolest things that I have a branch of my tree with the surname Braunhart, Braunhart, and they were from a small city in what was Germany, but is now Poland, called Hubin, Hubin. And my great grandfather, as it turns out, was the head of the Jewish school in the 1800s.
Wow.
And for like 50 years or something. But anyway,
oh my goodness.
So I want to talk about starting my family history websites, but I'm going to postpone that for a minute.
Okay.
Because that's how that connection was made.
Yeah.
And at any rate, I discovered I think she's a third cousin who lives in New Jersey, who was also looking at that branch. And her grandmother came over from Germany grandmother came over from Germany in I think the early 1900s. Anyway, so we connected.
Yeah.
And we were so excited to find somebody else who was looking, and she found me because of my family history website. Although she found it, and then she tried to connect with me, and like a dummy, when I first set it up, I didn't put my email address in there. But she finally found me on Facebook. And the moral of the story is, we were sending back and forth 30 emails a day.
Wow.
Trying to figure stuff out. We found old, hundreds of old photos from the late 1800s, early 1900s. We found German letters, because half of her her grandmother's siblings, she had 11 of them. Half of them immigrated into the U.S. and half of them stayed in Germany. So they were sending letters back and forth. They were all in German. We found somebody to translate them. Yada yada yada. So that was exciting. The most exciting thing was that I discovered a quote cousin who still lived in Berlin, who's my daughter's age. Her grandfather and grandmother were married, obviously, and they had 3 children. This was in the 1940s. And they were all Jewish, except he was married to a Christian woman. And Nazis came to him and said, "You got one choice. You 2 choices. You can either divorce your wife and we won't take your kids and you, or if you don't, we're going to take all of you."
Yeah.
And so he divorced his wife, and 3 months later they took him. And so I've got 3 ancestors who were murdered in the Holocaust. So at any rate, the discovery of the cousin I was talking about, who's in her 50s now, her father was one of the 3 children of the person who had to divorce his wife. And his daughter, her name is Andrea, wanted to know about her relatives and ancestors, and he wouldn't talk to her. Like many of the young people who lived through that time, they were still scared it was going to happen again.
Sure.
So they never talked about it. And so she felt like there was a whole part of her being that was missing. Anyway, she found me on the family history website, and after she and my cousin in New Jersey connected, and we talked to her about that whole family, it changed her life.
Yeah.
So that's some of the cool stuff that can happen. And I encourage everybody who is doing any research to build some kind of family history website. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah.
I had 2 of them, and I documented the stories of the people that I found. And fortunately, I was able to find photos for most of them. And then, of course, I got into newspapers, which is a whole other, as I digress, subject. So that's kind of how I got into it, and some of the neat things that have happened over the years.
Have you been to Europe at all to visit any?
No, I haven't. No, for family reasons, I can't travel. So, but anyway, that's kind of the story. It's been exhilarating. It's been fun and very rewarding. So.
Well, I love that, because most everyone that I've talked to so far has been like teeny tiny little when they got started. It was on grandma's lap, and hearing those stories. So it's great to hear a different perspective of how you got started. Tell me, Kenneth, why do you think storytelling itself is such an important part of family history?
For me, it's everything.
Yeah.
If stories, I consider it like genealogy is 3 dimensions. The basic 2 dimensions are names and dates.
Right.
Period. 3rd dimension is stories. That gives you the depth of understanding of your ancestors. And so, frankly, if it wasn't for stories, I wouldn't be doing this, because to me, that's everything. I got interested in newspapers early on, which is a little different subject, but because I didn't know anything about these people. There's nobody to ask. Like I said, I had my dad's brother, and he knew some things, which was helpful. And then my dad's two cousins, one of which who recently passed was at 100. Whole other story. Whole other story. That's the Humdinger I told you about. Our emails. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Because that's another story, which is phenomenal. Anyway, but there was not too many people to ask, and and a lot of my ancestors, either one didn't have any children, so there's no downline, so to speak.
Yeah.
And or they never got married. I would say half of the great uncles, great aunts, etc., didn't have children. So nobody asked about what their story was. And that's how I found newspapers were so interesting, because I just found, all kinds of stuff. Attempted murder. Well, I had one great uncle who pimped out his stepdaughter, and I had, two women that were jilted and had their fiancés arrested. This is in the 1800s. I mean, how else would you find that stuff if people,
right?
So that's how I got interested in newspapers, because I was able to discover things about my ancestors that I otherwise would never know. To me, that's everything. Stories are everything.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any certain resources or tools when you start, to write a story? Do you have a go-to or something that you work from to start a story?
No, I just start writing.
Good.
I just start writing, and then I find that if I know what I want to talk about, I just start cranking it out.
Yeah.
And by and large, I'm about 80% there after that. And then I go back and maybe add some photos, or make sure I edit it so there's no misspellings, of course. But I'm pretty good at throwing stuff out there and making it reasonably understandable.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, it would be much more helpful to have a guide with a set of questions that would prompt them for making sure that the story has some meat to it.
Right. Seems to be my hot button question that I ask. How do you balance the importance of accuracy with the need to make your story exciting? Like, do you ad lib any parts of it, or do you feel you stay pretty true to the facts of the story?
Oh, I'm 100% of the facts.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you document anything that was untrue? That's just dumb. That's like saying, oh, they really didn't get married in 1875. Let's put in there they got married in 1865. And that's no reasonable person would do that. And I think the same applies to stories. I mean, you can use adjectives to embellish, I suppose, but accuracy is everything, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be dead, and there's nobody around that really cares about the stuff that I did. And so, in this field at any rate, and so to have stuff documented either in a book or on a website or whatever, and it's inaccurate was kind of silly.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. Sorry, I have a tickle. Super excited to hear your Humdinger story. So can you share that with us?
Sure, I will do that. So my dad's first cousin, her name is Gloria. I knew about her because I knew she was in the movies.
Okay.
And she, as an aside, she was not a great actress, and she was not a big star, but she was in the movies. And so once I connected with her in probably 2000, starting in 2003. She had lived in LA and moved to Vegas in, I think, probably 30 or 35 years ago. And when I was actually both my family history websites, I met with her. I went to Las Vegas and met with her and spent a few hours with her. She shared some stories and pictures and yada, yada, yada. And I was interested in, from the movie's point of view, I knew that she had been a child magician. Her father was a hobbyist
Love
magician.
that.
Her father was a hobbyist magician in the Bay Area and in Sacramento. He was known as the Great Leo, and he was, he was a head of the board for some local magic organizations. So he taught her. She was doing gigs at 6 years old.
That's fascinating.
and 11, 10, and 11, and 12. And there were some newspaper articles that I found. Again, I'm very interested in newspapers.
Yeah.
And I found about her. So when I talked to her, again, I was not as interested in the magic part. She told me that she had done a gig at the El Rancho resort in Las Vegas, which was the first Las Vegas resort on the Strip. And I wrote, I put it in an article about her, yada, yada. So since 2003 to last year, I visited her many times, went to her 40th wedding anniversary party, etc. And again, to be, make sure this makes sense, I put a few stories about her in both of my family history websites. Let me think now, 2020, this is 23, 2021, I think it was in July. I got an email from a gentleman by the name of Lance Rich. Lance Rich is a magician, lives in Missouri, and he was doing a speech at the Magic Convention in Las Vegas. And as I don't know if you've ever been to Las Vegas, but magic is one thread of entertainment that is massive in Las Vegas. And I'd actually been to a few shows when I had been there myself. But at any rate, so he contacts me and he says, I'm doing a speech, and I saw your website, and your cousin, Gloria Day, and my dad's cousin, so it's first cousin once removed from me. Yeah. And do you know if I could talk to her? And so I called Gloria and I said, there's this guy. Now, as an aside, I had gotten through the years maybe 2 or 3 emails from people that wanted information about her or her to sign things or whatever. But nothing about magic. So anyway, I said, sure. So I contacted Gloria and I said, this guy's going to call you. I vetted him, obviously. And so he talked to her over the phone, got some information, came to Vegas, did a speech. She couldn't attend because she was 98 at the time. And but he had her on speakerphone. So he gave a speech and she talked a little bit and they gave her standing ovation. 1 week after, this is where it gets massively out of control. Now, you have to understand, she started as a dancer and a magician. She was a dancer in the Earl Carroll Vanities and one of the other ones, big dance shows that they had back in that era. And then she still did magic gigs. Where's I going with this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So 1 week after Lance contacts me, I get a Facebook Messenger message from a woman named Anna Rose Einerson. Anna Rose Einerson is in her late 20s. She's a hypnotist and magician in Las Vegas. She had some time off. She loves going to antique shops. She'd gone to an antique shop and she found this skirt that was just gorgeous. And she goes to the owner and says, I'd really like to get this skirt. You put it on hold for me. I'll be back in a couple of days. Yada, yada. And she says, well, I have a lot of other stuff like that from a woman magician who lives here in Las Vegas. I've got magic tricks. I've got books. I've got pictures. I've got all kinds of stuff. So Anna Rose, she goes crazy. She goes absolutely crazy. And she talks to one, well, how much for all of it? I want to buy it all. And she said 900. She said, oh, shoot, I don't have it. So she calls her dad, lives in Iowa. Said, Dad, please loan me 900. Don't ask me why. I need this money. It's nothing bad. I got to buy this stuff. I got to meet this woman. So the antique shop owner knew the name of, but didn't know where she was. She knew she lived in Vegas, by the way.
Mhm.
And Rose found me on Facebook because she'd gone to my family history website.
Yeah.
Again, for anybody listening, make yourself a family history website and don't wait till tomorrow. Do it today.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of people call it cousin bait, but it's more than cousin bait. It's a way to connect with people that are going to change your life.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so we got on the Facebook. She's very bubbly, vivacious. She's go crazy. Just do you know where she lives? I need to talk to her. I have to see her now. So I called up Gloria and I said, there's this, told her the story, yada yada. So Anna Rose goes to her house and meets with her.
Oh.
This is in and they were best friends for the next 2 years. Anna Rose saw her every week, went to visit her every week. Because she felt this kindred connection with her because of the fact they were both magicians, they were both women, yada yada. There wasn't a lot of women in magic, still isn't, but it's sizable. The story gets better. Okay.
It's so been great so far.
Oh, this is gonna blow your mind. So Anna Rose contacts me. We talk over Facebook Messenger. I call Gloria. She goes and visits her. It's early August 2021. Gloria's going to turn 99 in August 22nd. They're having a party at her house. Meanwhile, Anne Rose, one of her co-magicians, is a guy by the name of Bizarro, met up, great guy. He knows somehow, I think it was him. He contacts David Copperfield. You know who David Copperfield is?
Yes.
He contacts David Copperfield. David Copperfield has a magic museum in Vegas that is not open to the public, but he has collected magic stuff from all over the world. He's got all of Houdini's stuff.
Oh, wow.
David Copperfield says, gee, the El Rancho, 1941, because remember going back, I'm not doing this linearly. Lance Rich is looking for the first person who ever did a magic gig on the Les Vegas Strip.
Yeah.
He's convinced it's Gloria.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Anna Rose and Bizarro contact David Copperfield. Moral of the story is, I go to her. Anna Rose says they're having a party at her house on her 99th birthday. I wasn't going to go. I didn't know there was a party. She says, you have to come. So I go there. Anna Rose is there. Bizarro is there. Gloria and her husband and her caretaker, and David Copperfield shows up.
Oh my God.
So David Copperfield, who, by the way, I don't know if you've ever seen his show. For those who are listening and have seen his show, he looks like kind of an arrogant guy.
Yeah.
But I've discovered in the magic world, you gotta be in control, because that's the way it only works if you as the entertainer are totally in control. So it seems like they're kind of arrogant. He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet.
Aww.
We talk for hours. So anyway, so he comes, he's written a book, he signs it, gives it to her. She was in a serial with Buster Crabs in the 1950s called King of the Congo. He brings a huge poster that he's bought on eBay, has her autograph it for him.
Oh.
And so they start going through all of her stuff. So this begins the Gloria getting recognized for her magic capabilities. And this happens over the next 2 years. I mean, there is a woman called Connie Boyd who has a YouTube channel called Women in Magic. She interviews Gloria 14 times.
Wow.
She's on YouTube. Then Gloria gets written up in I think it's Mum. It's some kind of magic magazine, National Magic Magazine. Lance writes his 2 or 3 page story about her. What else happens? I don't think there was I don't think the news thing did it on her 99th. So fast forward. So over the next year, she moves out of her house because she can't, her husband dies. She moves out of her house. She's in a kind of an assisted living place. And everybody visits her, right? Copperfield takes her to his museum. He invites her to go to see a show. He comes out and it's before his show, not dressed up in all his stuff. He says, I have a special thing I want to tell you folks in the audience. I have here the first magician to do a show at on the Las Vegas Strip.
Yeah.
So Gloria's there. They give her 2 standing ovations. She's beaming.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome. And then on her 100th birthday, this is fast forward a year, so that I don't talk for 3 hours. Fast forward a year, on her 100th birthday, have a big party at the Westlake Hotel. Copperfield's there, Lance Rich is there, Anna Rose is there, Bizarro is there, Teller from Penn and Teller is there.
Yeah.
Jen Kramer, who is a magic show in Vegas, several other magicians. She gets the key to the city from the Las Vegas vice mayor. It's on TV and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right. So that now it even gets better. So this is, for me, this is great because here's a person who in the 1950s quit acting because basically she wasn't good at it. She would have told you that. And she's all it is, a bunch of standing around all the time anyway. And she stopped doing magic because I think she got tired of hauling all that stuff around.
Yeah.
And she disappeared. She starts selling cars and selling insurance.
Yeah.
She meets her last husband. She was married 5 times. Meets her last husband. They moved to Vegas, and she disappears from sight from 1960 until 2020, whatever.
Yeah.
And so for me, the fact that she gets recognized for her achievements, it's like awesome.
Yep.
She was very appreciative. She was very thankful for me. Not that I did anything, but a lot of it, I think they would have found her anyway. But the fact that a lot of it was initiated or helped to occur because I put a story on my family history website.
Right.
Fast forward another. So next, during that, her 99th to 100th year, she gets feted by the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, which is a big deal, national magazine, yada, yada, yada. They have a 100th birthday party and all those people show up.
Yeah.
And a week later, Lance Burton, who's a big magician you may have heard of, he goes to her assisted living facility and does magic tricks for her.
Oh.
And so then the next, so her 100th birthday party is great. It was on TV, yada, yada, yada. Then, we're almost done here. So then she's going to get inducted into the UNLV Fine Arts Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
March 18th, I think it was. Anyway, she passes away 5 days before that.
Oh.
It's got to happen at some point.
Yeah,
Anyway, but and so then all the articles come out. Obviously, they do another thing on TV, feeding her in Las Vegas. Gets picked up in AP, New York Times, Washington Post, UK thing, and then the last thing was they had on the Sunday Today show, they have a thing called A Life Worth Living.
Yes.
They put her on that.
Oh.
So that's a pretty cool story of somebody who otherwise would have been obscure,
Right.
was discovered by people who, tried it. But part of it was because I put a story on a couple of family history websites. That's it. So that if that doesn't encourage somebody, the story of her and my cousin from Berlin.
Yes.
And the other ones, if that doesn't encourage you to have a family history website, or use something like Storied, for example, to write the stories of your ancestors / relatives, I don't know what is.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be hard to top those stories, Kenneth. Those are fabulous, fabulous stories. Now I'm going to have to look her up. That's what I'm going to do.
That's all right. I will email you the Today Show thing, so you can.
Yes, please do. And I'll put it in a link with the show too, so that people can find it.
And if I forget, bug me. So
okay.
I have to look for it somewhere.
I will. Well, that is fabulous. Just to kind of to leave us here, do you have any other, what are a few tips, tricks, or pieces of advice you have? Let's maybe focus on newspaper. What would be a key piece of advice you would have for somebody that is searching in newspapers for somebody?
Well, there's lots of there's lots of tricks, tips, all of which are on my website. But first of all,
what's your favorite?
My favorite one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, well, I'll pick two favorites.
Okay.
For newspapers, first of all, there's three things. One is you have to outsmart optical character recognition.
Yes, you do.
Because OCR can only do as good as their software, and the source material.
Right.
If it's got creases, ink spots, hairs, it's 150 years old, it's not going to do well, even though you got a piece of software that's doing it. Now, as an aside, I read some stuff in the last week about people using some of these new AI tools to improve OCR. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I agree.
So the first thing is a person's attitude. You can't just throw a name in there and say, oh, it didn't come up with anything, and then give up. No. You have to outsmart it. Part of outsmarting it is recognizing that OCR, when it's scanned and then the OCR process is applied, it's not looking for words. It's looking for dots.
Right.
And those dots end up looking like a B. Right. But if there's a lowercase b, picture that in your mind. Now picture a lowercase h. What's the difference? There's a little teeny thing at the bottom. So an ink spot under the H would make it look like a B. Yeah, so I always tell people deliberately misspell. Mm-hmm. Not in terms, don't think like words, think like letters. Yeah. And so try all kinds of different combinations. And I've got, lists of combinations that you can try on my website. So first is the attitude. You can't expect the search to be perfect. You have to recognize, you have to try all kinds of different things. That's one. Second thing is try different letter combinations. Uh-huh. And the third thing is a combo. Hyphenated words were used a lot because they wanted to save space and ink and paper. So search for syllables, not just full words. Yeah. Abbreviations. Yeah. If you do a search for William McGillicuddy, for example, you will find almost as many, if not more, with WM McGillicuddy, because they used abbreviations to save space. Right. All the abbreviations for names, or ST for street, or AVE for avenue, or JOS for Joseph, ELIZ for Elizabeth, etc. That's another one. Hyphenated words, and also titles. Yeah. Captain, president, sergeant, etc. So that's just some examples. Yeah, of those are things that are useful to to do it. But the biggest thing is the attitude. You got to have a good attitude. You got to be dogged at it, because you won't find stuff otherwise. You won't find it good. And don't just try surnames or full names. Try a combination of what is their occupation. Maybe they're a barber. Barber in there.
Yeah.
If they have a common name, very reasonably common name, put in their occupation, because there's likely that, I'll give you an example, great uncle Max Bernstein, no wife, no kids. How the heck am I going to find him? Max Bernstein, reasonably common name, right? But I put in Max Bernstein barber. I found an article where he owned this is before he was a barber, he owned a pool hall.
Oh.
Wanted to sell the pool hall. A couple came who were going to buy it, came to his, I think he came to the pool hall, met him. He changed his mind, didn't want to do it. So the guy got mad, pulls a gun and shoots him.
Oh my gosh.
Got him in the shoulder, right? I wouldn't have found that out in the newspaper. Furthermore, the couple goes home that night. Wife gets the gun, shoots the husband.
Oh my goodness.
The next day, the wife commits suicide.
Oh my
goodness. I don't care about those two people necessarily, but the story of my barber great uncle with no kids, there's no way I would have found that out without a newspaper.
Yeah.
And putting in his occupation as an example, in addition to his name, helped guide me towards any location, obviously, because I knew he was in Oakland, California. All of that would guide me towards his story.
Yeah.
So that's a quick overview of newspapers. You just can't give up.
No, you can't. You can search for hours, but it's like you said, I mean, you get that one payoff and it's worth it. So
I've had so many stories, tons. I'm not going to reiterate all of them, or any of them, but that's just an example.
Yeah.
Of, and you find out this woman got a hole in one playing golf in the 1940s or something.
Yeah.
Or this person was a bridge champion, or this person owned this business.
Yeah.
I would have not known that without newspapers. Newspapers are like having an encyclopedia of people.
Yeah. They are.
Of common people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Encyclopedias have writings about famous people or notable people.
Yeah.
But Tom, Dick, and Harry, they don't have an encyclopedia. They aren't an encyclopedia. Their encyclopedia, I just made this up, sounds pretty good. Their encyclopedia is newspapers.
I love it. I think it's perfect. Right? Yeah. It is.
Or other people say it's their Facebook of their time, whatever.
Yes.
But, at any rate, so that's why I'm so hyped up about people doing newspapers.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Well, Kenneth, thank you for your expertise and your passion. I am honored that you spent time with me today. So thank you.
Oh, it's fun. It's funny. My approach to genealogy is as a hobbyist.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional. Yeah. I've had no interest in going the academic route to get certified or any of that kind of jazz. Number one, I don't like to travel. Yeah. I did millions of miles of travels in my big career when I was younger. Yeah. I said, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not in. That's why nobody's ever met me at a conference. I just don't want to travel. I don't. I have no desire to do it. So I've never gone the academic route, but I want to help primarily the people who just want to do it as a hobby and have fun.
Right.
I just want to give them ways to find things, no matter what the kind of document it is. It makes it easier for them. Because frankly, most people can't research their way out of a paper bag. They don't have the mental skills. They never. It's not that they're dumb, but they've never been trained on how to research things.
Right.
And so I just try to make it easier. That's kind of my motto.
Yeah. Well, your website, for people that haven't been, the Ancestor Hunt, is awesome. You have a phenomenal resource. So I encourage people to check it out. And I will link that as well because it's a great
Great.
resource.
Thank you. Well, it's
Yeah.
been fun. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I will hopefully remember to send you that link to that.
If not, I'm going to bother you. You know I will.
Okay, it's fine.
Well, until next time, friends, embrace the power of your family's untold tales and embark on a journey of discovery. Let the ink flow and the words dance as you weave together the threads of your ancestors' lives. Start writing your family stories today and let their voices echo through the generations to come at Storied.com. And that brings us to the end of this episode of the Family Treehouse, where we celebrate the power of storytelling and preserving our family legacies. Storied is more than just a platform for sharing stories. Dive into those historical records and newspapers, discovering the hidden gems that bring your ancestors to life. Add branches to your family tree, connecting the dots between generations. Thank you for joining us on this storytelling journey. Your stories matter, and through Storied, they have the power to resonate across time and touch the hearts of generations to come. Keep uncovering your family's history and keep the spirit of storytelling alive with Storied.